All right, what's going on, College Football Nation, Tide Nation? This is Jan 716 back here again, and today, okay, let me get to this first. Uh, Congratulations, Oregon, Utah. I feel bad for you guys, but anyway, guys, the Pac-12 Championship game was today, and Oregon won 30-15 in a very, very convincing manner. Now, if you're an Oregon fan, you're happy that your team is going to the Rose Bowl. You guys are Pac-12 champions. And Oregon hasn't won the Pac-12 since 2014, so that's a really, really good accomplishment. The bad news is that, damn, if Oregon would have beat Arizona State, you guys are most likely going to the college football playoffs if Georgia was to lose to LSU. So that's the bad news there if you're an Oregon fan. But you know, to the rest of the public out there that knew that Utah was overrated, that except for apparently these analysts out here who everyone kept saying, well, Utah has a vaunted defense. Utah is just Tyler Huntley is one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the country. Zach Moss is a freak. He's a monster. This team could play with anybody. Well, you saw today what happens when they actually played a ranked opponent. Now I'm a Bama fan, and everyone comes at me because they say that Bama hasn't played anybody. And if you look at our schedule, we kind of haven't as far as beating a ranked opponent. But at least we can compete. I mean, Utah just didn't. I mean, they came back in the second half and they competed okay. But besides that, I mean, Utah was you felt that Utah was not going to win this game. At least with Bama, you knew that they have a great chance of winning. With Utah, you knew that they were not going to win this game. Oregon controlled the majority of this game. Justin Herbert, I don't know how in the hell people consider him a first-round quarterback, in my opinion. I think he might be a late first-round prospect, but I don't know. He just did not look good out there. Their offensive line manhandled Utah's vaunted defensive line, which people kept saying is the best front line, is the best defensive line in the country. And all you saw was C.J. Verdell go in there and rush for 200 yards. You saw this Oregon unit almost rush for 300 against this vaunted Utah defense. Tyler Huntley was not efficient. Zach Moss was the only person that actually did something in this game. I think he had over 100 yards. He had averaged close to 6 yards a carry. He was their lead receiver. I think he had 67 or I think close to 80 yards. So Zach Moss did his job. He was the only player that actually showed up for Utah. But besides that, I mean, Oregon they completely controlled this football game. And yes, Utah got exposed. And now they're going to, at least for today, they're going to be the laughingstock when it comes to college football. Because the playoff committee all season long, Utah should have never been in the top 5 in the first place. Or they should have never been in discussion for the playoffs. They didn't play anybody. Literally didn't play anyone. They didn't beat anyone. Their best win of the year was Washington. That was it. And they're not ranked, and they barely won that game. At least with Alabama, Bama's blowing teams out. They're blowing away the competition. They lost to Auburn by 3 with the backup quarterback, and they lost to freaking by 5 to the number 2 team in the country in LSU. Utah's first ranked opponent all year was Oregon, and they lost 30-15. And Oregon dominated the football game. So how in the hell, if you're the playoff committee, how in the hell did you even put them at 5 in the first place? Why? Because they only got one loss? That doesn't mean anything. The playoff committee, they have got to do a better job when it comes to really selecting the best teams. Because I'm telling you, and the reason why I'm mad about this was because what if Utah would have beat Oregon? Oregon's not even that damn good of a football. Oregon's a good football team, but we all know if Oregon's in the college football playoffs, they would get smoked. We all know this. If Utah would have won this game by 3 points, and Georgia would have lost, and they decided between Utah, Oklahoma, or Utah and Baylor, we're just going to jump and put Utah in this, Utah would lose by 40. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not. I'm not exaggerating. What was the playoff? They had just this bias for Utah for some reason, and I don't know why they did. Like they legit, they didn't play anybody at all the entire year, and they got exposed, losing in a dominant fashion to Oregon. So now for the Big 12, you guys got to be excited because now you're just competing with Georgia, right? It's simple. Whether if you're a Baylor fan or if you're an Oklahoma fan, if Georgia loses, the Big 12 winner's in. Simple as that. If Georgia wins, the Big 12 winner is out. So yeah, it's come down to two teams. It's come down to three teams, but you know what I mean. It's come down to two conferences. It's the SEC if they can get two teams in it, which will look really good for the SEC, or it's just going to come down to the Big 12, which will really, really help the Big 12 as far as just brand recognition and as far as just recruiting goes. It will be really, really helpful if Oklahoma or Baylor can get into the college football playoffs. But yes, once again, Utah gets exposed. They're not who we thought we were, who they thought they were. Well, I knew that they were trash, but for the playoff committee and the college football analysts out there that kept praising Utah to saying that they can play with anybody in the country, yeah, I think they can't. Because losing to an Oregon team that Justin Herbert didn't even play his best game. Matter of fact, this was actually one of his worst games. Yeah. Utah, that vaunted defense, Tyler Huntley, that team, they were overrated. So anyway, guys, that's all I got. If you guys liked the video, please hit that subscribe button, like the video, share it. Really helps out the channel a lot. And that's all I got. So anyway, this is Gen716. I'm out. Peace.